voice is louder enough. It's okay. Yes, okay, thank you. I come from China, yeah, Fudan University of China. My name is Shujin Song. So today I'm honored to be here to do this presentation. Actually, it is not an academic speech. It is an introduction about Kristeva in China. Okay. So this is the first time she comes to China, and the second one in Hong-qian University, and the third time in Fudan University. And let's see some history about Julia Kristeva. I think all of us is familiar with his story, her story. So let's skip it. The first one, the Pioneer Tour. Why we say it is a Pioneer Tour? Because this action happened in the 1974. It is a time our nation was opened. Yes, it's April and May. Place is Beijing, Shanghai, Luoyang, and Xi'an. Okay, character is Julia Kristeva, and others are Roland Bach and Fei Liu. And activity visiting China invited by Chairman Mao, by our chairman. Yes, they are the first group of scholars in West were invited to our China, the first group. So it is very proud. Okay, so she wrote a book. See, this is Kristeva and Roland. And Julia Kristeva wrote a book as Chinese woman. She said, because of the unique culture of this country, we wanted to analyze the possible difference between China socialism and other countries' socialism. Okay, then Chinese culture carries something new of China socialism and expected to see the thorough free. That is their purpose, maybe. Yes, and Chinese women, about Chinese women. On the one hand, it expresses the fascination of the past. On the other hand, the disappointment about the present. And the goodwill tour. It is 2009. It is long time ago. No, long time. Okay, Beijing University and Hong-qian University. Julia Kristeva activities give a speech named "A European Lady in China," and accepted an exclusive interview with South Weekly. And she was offered the honorary dean in the Institute for Advanced Study of European Culture at Shanghai Tongji University, as well as an editorial board member of research on Marxist aesthetic sponsored by School of Humanities at Shanghai Zhencen Yin University. Yes, she was in the speech, and it is Shanghai Zhencen University's chairman and Julia Kristeva. It is a report on South Weekly. It means the title. It means Julia Kristeva said, "You must remember, don't be the past. Don't be the past." And the legendary tour. It is her third time to China. Yeah, it is. I think it is the most important, maybe. Okay, 2012, Fudan University, China. An activity gave a series of speech, including 4. Theme is subject, intertextuality, psychoanalysis. Content, the process and the methods of development from intertextuality to psychoanalysis, and the development of intertextuality in many other fields. Okay, this is the chairman of Fudan University, in the middle of the man. Okay, her name is Yang Yuliang, and he invited Julia Kristeva to Fudan University. He is the most important scholar in China. Yes, okay. And we know that Obama speaking in Fudan University. Yes, Yang Yuliang is the host. And next to Yang Yuliang, it is Julia Kristeva, and this one is Keyi Zhu. She's here. Yes. Mm-hmm. Actually, the invitation is including Professor Zhu's individual invitation, not only the official invitation. Yes, this is the translator. I'm talking with Yang and Kristeva. Okay. This is the post about the lectures. She is in speech. This is the opening of her speech. Okay, let's see the four speeches about subject, intertextuality, and psychoanalysis. Okay, first topic is about subject and language. Subject and language, the succession and the breakthrough of intertextuality theory for structuralism. And next is intertextuality and its textual application. And the second topic is subject and psychoanalysis, including the first one is the trilogy of female geniuses. And the next is strangers to ourselves. Let's see the first one, lecture one. Okay, here Kristeva's text analysis development into two dimensions, which were ignored by structuralism: subject and the dialogue between a text and its preceding and succeeding texts. Okay, for intertextuality, Kristeva put language and all kinds of practice related to meaning, such as literature, art, film, into the historical space of text, as well as of society and politics. Okay, she said, I had introduced the theory of unconscious of psychoanalysis into my linguistic theory. Language is a process of consciousness with two ways, semiotic and symbolic. Symbolic is in language and semiotic is pre-language. And that's lecture 2, intertextuality and its textual application, the death of author. And she said, usually a name is what a person left and only left to us, not only after his death, but also before. There must be hidden something, feelings and happiness in this symbol, these symbols of a name, which nurture our imagination. She made this speech about Madalena. And lecture 3, for female genius. 3 female genius. Okay, she hoped they encourage others to struggle and fight unremittingly, following their leading and make breakthroughs in their own field. She said, according to Kristeva's thought, the realization of human rights, including women's human rights, ultimately is a thought realization. Now there is the condition. Genius is no more than a creature with the most complicated but most attractive and abundant characters. That's the one strangers to ourselves. Okay, over several centuries, European countries share similar culture and religion with each other, as well as economy depending each other. It is how difficult to live in this new multinational society, not a supranational society. Certainly it is beneficial, let alone live in one political community. So Kristeva comes out her own unique understanding. The basement of coexistence in a multinational society is this kind of individual awareness. All of us are outsiders because we are strangers to ourselves, absolutely. And when she was in China, she takes some media report. Okay, because all Chinese people focused on Kristeva in this period in 2012. In November of 2012, all of Chinese people focused on her. So many medias, journals want to take interview with her, and she chose 3 of them. Okay, one is Dongfang Zaobao. It is original morning. Yes. The name is I'm James Bond of Feminism. As she said this sentence all the time when she mentioned the media report. Yes, I'm James Bond of Feminism, and she learned how to say this sentence in Chinese class, in Chinese language. Yes, 我是女性主义的詹姆斯邦德. Yes, she learned short time and she can speak it very well. And the next is Wenhui Daily. Yes, the title is in Europe. Identity is not an idol but a problem. Okay, this is another experience in China in 2012. She learned Tai Chi. She's very fond of this action. Very interested in it. I learned it for maybe 4 days or 5 days. She's done it very well. This is happening in Fudan University. We have the Tai Chi lessons. Okay. Very serious. Yes, and Professor Zhu give her a Tai Chi cloth as a gift. And look, pay attention to this painting. It is draw her face in the speeches. And when she do the speech, and the painter is drawing the painting immediately. Okay, so another tour to Wuzhen in China, around Shanghai. And it is a very famous world town, like Venice, Eastern Venice. She was very happy that day. Okay, take pictures. Yeah, she can't stop taking pictures. Okay, she loved this scenery. It is very special. Okay, and furthermore, Kristeva attended the inaugural ceremony of the Kristeva group in Fudan University. And we attended the inaugural ceremony in Siena College 2012. So when we back, we make a Kristeva group in Fudan University. Yes, Professor Zhu and Fei Liu and me attended that meeting, inaugural meeting in Siena College. So Kristeva attended the inaugural ceremony of Kristeva group in Fudan University and accepted the chief academic counselor of contemporary rhetoric. This is the picture. This is a picture of the whole Kristeva group in Fudan University. I'll give some gifts to her. This is Kristeva accepted the chief academic concept of contemporary rhetoric. Contemporary rhetoric is journals about rhetoric, hosted by Chinese Linguistics and Literature Department of Fudan University. Okay, next, Kristeva's thoughts spread in China. Actually, it is not a new phenomenon about Kristeva in China. In 1990s, Professor Keyi Zhu of Fudan University has a long discussion on internationality theory in his books, The History of Modern Western Aesthetics. He also specially introduced Kristeva in the part of French feminist criticism in his book, Contemporary Western Literature Theory. And Professor Keyi Zhu and her daughter students translated Le Dialogue and La Rome into Chinese, in which Professor Kristeva has interpreted intertextuality theory comprehensively for the first time. And the column Intertextuality and Rhetoric from 2010, and selected translation works of Western textual theory in contemporary rhetoric, held by Fudan University, had published 16 articles about intertextuality theory and textual theory. And a lot of master and daughter dissertations about intertextuality theory had been finished by Professor Zhu Keyi and Professor Fei Liu's graduate students. 3 of classic of Kristeva's thoughts will be translated and published by Fudan University Press. This is the largest scale project to translate and introduce Kristeva's works so far in China. And introduce the intertextuality theory to discourse analysis. Professor Keyi Zhu promotes intertextual discourse theory study. She comes up with 3 cognitive dimensions: macroscopic, dynamic, and multivariate, and 3 theories pillars: systematic functional linguistics, functional relationship, and spatial hierarchy. Okay, Chinese Social Science Today published 2 articles written by Keyi Zhu to elaborate the core idea of intertextual discourse theory and Kristeva's new thoughts. A man is a polyphonic construction. And Professor Zhu is taking charge of 2 national fund research projects about Julia Kristeva and her intertextuality theory. Okay, Professor Zhu studied these 2 projects from 3 paths: the development of Julia Kristeva's thoughts, who is the founder of intertextuality, the origin, transmutation, and the rethinking of intertextuality theory, the dialogue between Chinese intertextuality and the Western intertextuality in a broader view. Because in Chinese, there is a word means 互文, that it is our original word in Chinese. And when Chinese people translate intertextuality into Chinese, they use the same words, 互文. Okay, so they make a dialogue between Chinese 互文 intertextuality and Western intertextuality 互文. Okay, and Fei Liu will introduce this later. Okay, so Chinese intertextuality and Western intertextuality make a dialogue in same Chinese characters, 互文. Okay, so there is a dialogue. So, and next, actually there is not coincidence in language, but in the core idea of these 2 thoughts. So next, the practical application of intertextual discourse theory on analyzing the structure of text. So the Kristeva group of Fudan University members and their articles. Keyi Zhu, Fei Liu, and Shujin Song, Zhencen Yin, and Chen. Totally more than 20 articles. Okay, so undergoing research. Translate and introduce 5 original works. Kristeva's lectures in Fudan University, semiotic, okay, and the language they are known, and Kristeva's self-selection, and intertextuality Graham Allen wrote. And 10 works on Julia Kristeva. 10 works. 10 special works. Okay. So intertextuality theory has important methodologic meaning of philosophy and semiotic. In China, more and more fields began to introduce intertextuality theory in its own traditional research. The purpose of our work is to recognize intertextuality theory and make intertextual discourse analysis more Chinese. Hope to exchange ideas with scholars around the world. Okay, so that's my speech. Oh no, maybe an introduction. Okay, thank you very much.
Great, so we will move on to the second paper now, and I'll get the lights. Do we need more? Are we going to be using?
Using the PPT.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So
Okay.
we'll leave this set up. So our next paper will be from Zhencen Yin.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. And it will be from Fudan University, and it will be semi-analysis on Chinese officialdom. And do you need this for your presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So should I leave the PowerPoint in this computer or I take it away?
Does that have the next PowerPoint on it?
No.
No.
So I can
Yeah, then we can adjust it. Yeah, is that right? Okay.
Okay, hello everyone. Thanks to the Chinese trip of Kristeva, I have learned a lot of his theory of semi-analysis, and I try to make these theories on Chinese officialdom discourse, and I expect to communicate with you for a long time, day and night. So I wish you could enjoy it today. And the topic of my report is semi-analysis on Chinese officialdom discourse by Zhencen Yin, Fudan University, China. In this report, we take Chinese officialdom discourse to be an example to demonstrate how semi-analysis theory could be used in discourse analysis, and to recognize features and the mechanism of officialdom discourse. We collected 931 conversational texts from 4 of the most famous new officialdom novels in Chinese society. Officialdom is a social circle in Chinese society, where its members are almost Chinese officials. What they care most in daily life is how to get, keep, and exploit public power to profit themselves. The core feature of officialdom is the operation of public power. And officialdom discourse used widely in officialdom and other fields will exist theological differences. Its definition is discourse which can help subjects to get, keep, and exploit public power. And it has the local semiotical features that although huge contrasts exist between its literal meaning and the real intention, little difficulty in communication is caused. So we want to ask, yeah, it is. So we want to ask why that this kind of discourse can used widely in the society, while it has the semantic feathers which violated the conversational principle seriously. And I will give you an example to understand this category. In this example, come from Officialdom novel. After a moment, Sima came in. Wu said to him, "Don't worry, I promise to vote for you tomorrow." Sima laughed and said, "I just come to visit you as a friend. How can I convert for myself before the election? It's illegal. You will vote for anyone as you like." Wu said seriously, "Our city make great progress since you take in charge of the work. You do serve the people wholeheartedly, and I will vote for you tomorrow." Sima smiled, "Okay, have a good night," and left the room with satisfaction. In this case, the real intention of Sima's wish is to convert for himself, but he denied to admit it even when Wu promised to vote for him. However, Sima's denial didn't cause confusion to Wu. He continues to make promise, and which makes Sima left with satisfaction. In this case, the huge contrast doesn't make communicational difficult is the noble feature of Officialdom discourse. And to answer the question we proposed before, we introduce the theory of semi-analysis to explain it. Semi-analysis theory is proposed by Julian Kristeva in 17th last century. It introduces psychoanalysis to describe the full process of text generation. Its core spirit is every text are generated from the interaction between subject inclusion and the structural rules. In semi-analysis perspective, officialdom texts are generated by interaction between official inclusion and circle rules. Inclusion in officialdom discourse are always relevant to desire of public power, and rules in officialdom discourse can be distincted as hidden rules and public rules. Hidden rules roll as the way of privatization of public power, while public rules roll as the rejection of it. And here is the chart, and it's the interactive models between inclusion and the rules in officialdom discourse. We find 5 models in the data we collected. They are shaping, exploitation, discretion, and totally expression and breaking. You can have a look about this chart. Again, I will give you some examples for understanding these models. Case 1, Tang said, "So you can tell the governor your situation. You have nothing to do." Ji said, "I can't do that. I'm a mayor. I have to keep accordance with my superior. How can I act against his will?" In this case, Ji has the impression of telling governor the real situation, but he didn't. The impression was depressed because there was a rule in officialdom that officials should keep accordance with his superior. That's the model of depression. Case 2. Tang said, "No drink, okay?" Meng said, "I don't agree. You must give me a choice to drink with you." While Therese bring a bottle of wine in, Tang stopped her. Meng said, "For the glass, it cannot be empty." Meng held his glass up, wanted to clean glasses, but Tang refused. Meng clinked and drank himself. Tang still refused to drink. Meng said, "You despise me." "Yes, I know. Our boss doesn't like me, right?" Tang was so embarrassed. He has nowhere to go, but held the glass up and said, "What are you saying? I'm just concerned about the regulation. If you like, okay, let's chill." In this case, there are two rules. There are two rules worked in the text. Rule 1 is the regulation that officials are forbidden to drink during lunchtime. It's the Tang's original impulsion is to comply with this regulation, but on the insistence of Meng, he has to break it to comply with another rule, that is, be friendly with everyone and never offend everyone in the officialdom. So it's the model of breaking the rule 2, breaking the rule 1 in the text generation. Here comes this case 3. Liu said, although he has done nothing illegal, he made mistakes in his incident. Li answered, yes, he didn't discover the problem beforehand. It's his fault. And if we fire him just because of it, I'm afraid others will spill it off. Liu want to file through just because some private reason. Li's impulsion is to hinder it. But he didn't express his impulsion directly because there's a rule in officialdom that do not violate the will of your superior. So he impresses his impulsion totally by exploiting another rule, that is, contract your image as a fairly and honest official. By exploiting this rule, Li managed to persuade you. That's the model of totally expression and exploitation. So there are two rules works in the text. And the last, text 4. Is the example for models of shaping. The text is, thanks for the great help from the municipal party committee and the government. This project could be processed so smoothly and successfully. In this case, the impulsion was shaped by the rule. That there's a rule in the text that attribute your success to your superior. Because of it, the subject makes thanks for the help of superiors, which never exist. That's the example of shaping models. By analyzing the interactive models like above, we could draw an orderly arranged room system. And the arranging principle is like below. Rules in system are arranged by their strength of power. When rules appear in models of shaping and depression, it has a higher strength. When rules appear in models of breaking, totally expression, and exploitation, it has a lower strength. By counting the appearance frequency of each rule in each model, we get a list of orderly arranged room system. Here is the room system, and it including 21 rules. They are arranged by the strength of power in officialdom discourse. Rules which taking a former position are powerful than those take a later position. When several rules conflict in one text, the later ones are more likely to be damaged and the former ones are more likely to be complied with. You can take a look at this list. The first 11 and the last 10, like this. So, what can we deduce from the rule system of officialdom discourse? We conclude 4 concepts. 1. Superiors in officialdom have absolutely authority. That's because several powerful rules in the system are relevant to super rules. The basic attitude toward them are respect and obedience, like below. 2. You should contract a relation-led in officialdom to keep your position and get promotion. That because several rules which are talking about this take former position in the system, like below 4. 3. Hidden rules are more powerful than public rules in officialdom discourse. Hidden rules are always at a former place in the system, and public rules are always at the later place in the system. That is to say, hidden rules which can help subjects to master public power are more likely to be complied with in official daily life, while public powers are more likely to be violated and neglected. And 4, the most important is hidden rules and public rules are always in conflict. We take the 3 groups of example as the case. You can see in every group, the first several rules are conflicted with the last one in the rule system. So we can draw a cultural prospect from the conclusion analyzing before. So we introduce the cultural model proposed by Rose Benedict. He described the cultural structure as 3 levels: the cultural spirit, the cultural concept system, and special cultural styles. But so many conflicts between hidden rules and public rules in room system of officialdom discourse, we assume a double-layer structure of Chinese officialdom culture. First, the deep layer of the culture. The spirit is pursuing the public power and profit in officialdom. The concept system are the concepts we drew before, like the super rules in officialdom as absolute authority. You should contract a relation-led in officialdom to keep your position and get promotion, and so on. And special cultural style is hidden rules in officialdom discourse. Second, the surface layer of officialdom culture. The spirit is serving people wholeheartedly. And the concept system is a serious concept proposed by mainstream ideology. The special cultural style are public rules in officialdom discourse. Here comes the combination mode of the 2 layers. Deep layer is the core and truth of officialdom discourse. It never expresses itself directly, but just stays in the mind of cultural subject, permitted out through the surface layer. The surface layer never conveys the real spirit of officialdom culture, but raw as the shell of it. Now, we can come back to the question proposed at the beginning of the report. Although huge contrasts exist between the literal meaning and the real intention of Chinese officialdom discourse, little difficult in communication is caused. Why? Officialdom discourse is the reflection and the consistent part of officialdom culture. Double-layer structure of officialdom culture decides double-layer structure of officialdom discourse. To be the reflection, officialdom discourse has contrasting layers of meaning. Deep layer of culture, including its value, concepts, and hidden rule system, never has language performance. It works as a mechanism in officialdom communication, just staying in the mind of subjects, guides and limits the expression and understanding of officialdom discourse. As a result, although contrasting meaning exists in officialdom discourse, the communication is seldom hindered because of the special cultural mechanism. Through analyzing the interactive model between subjective impulsion and structural rules, we concluded an orderly arranged rule system in Chinese officialdom discourse, from which we deduced a double-layer structure of officialdom culture and described the communicational mechanism on the basis of the cultural prospect. With the help of semi-analysis theory, we realized the deep mechanism and special feature of officialdom discourse. We also make an attempt to find a new way of discourse analysis by using the method of semi-analysis theory. Thank you.
We'll have our third paper. Is it? Let me see your name. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so this last presentation will have two parts. The first by Hong-qian Zhang, and then the second part by Fei Liu. And the presentation altogether is called Kristeva and Chinese Writing, a comparative study of Chinese and Western text concept. And are we doing another, okay, good, another PowerPoint we'll get that set up. And the technology is working for us, isn't that good? Yeah, this is, oh, maybe I just jinxed it, sorry. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. It's my great honor to have the opportunity to attend the meeting and give the presentation here. So our topic is Kristeva and Chinese writing, a comparative study of Chinese and Western text concept. So it has two parts. The first one will be introduced by me. Kristeva believes that Chinese is indeed a unique example in history, where in general phonetics and the writing form two independent registers. Kristeva studies on Chinese character are mainly found in about Chinese women and the language the unknown. And especially in China, writing and science, she systematically explained her recognition on Chinese character. Now, we are having an insight into her recognition on Chinese character from three aspects. First one, about original Chinese writing, Kristeva believes that it is King Fuxi who created the characters. This is Fuxi. While in China writing and science, she wrote, the invention of writing was attributed to Li Shu, who apparently got his inspiration from the Shakespeare's living soil, and she also supposed that before truly graphic writing, there should have been a marking system closely tied to medical rights. According to the first character, analytic dictionary in China, Shuwen by Shujin in Eastern Han Dynasty, the birth of Chinese characters had undergone through the following three stages. First, the creation of Bagua by Fuxi. Bagua is a symbolic system where there was 8 combinations composed by 2 different symbols, yang and yin. Second, the creation of symbol system by making notes on the rope by Shen Nong. Third, the creation of characters by Chang Jie, inspired by the crossed checks of birds and beasts left on the soil. So from what previously mentioned, we can find that the birth of Chinese characters has the following 3 stages. We need to point out that Professor Kristeva is very fond of Chinese character. In November 2012, when she was visiting Fudan University, she was expressed her worry about the fact that Chinese young people are currently over-relying on the computer, while it's having negative impact on Chinese characters. In opinion, our Chinese character is an image schema more or less containing Chinese people's own recognition of the world. Secondly, Kristeva divided the characters into three categories, putting Chinese characters into the ideograms. Having noticed the Liu Shu theory, which is proposed by Shujin, she categorized Chinese characters into 6 types. In fact, the concept of Liu Shu first appeared in Zhou Li. Afterwards, Fan Gu and some other scholars had also studied under order, but the types and names of Liu Shu were determined by Shujin. The first pictograms, for example, Ri means sun, Yue means moon, and Shan means mountain. Indirect symbols, Yi means 1, Er means 2, San means 3. Associative complexes, the character mean has 2 atoms, Ri and Yue, so it means bright as sun and moon. Neutral interpretative symbols, for example, Kao and Lao, both means older in ancient Chinese. Borrowed phonetic characters, so Zhao means morning and Zhao means free. Because of the same pronunciation, Zhao also can mean morning. 6. Determinative phonetics, for example, Yang has 2 atoms, Shui and Yang. Shui is image and Yang is the sounder, so it means ocean. But we needed to point out is that Liu Shu don't fall into the same category. The biologist Tyson in Qing Dynasty once proposed a hypothesis in which he divided the Liu Shu into 4 ways of creating Chinese characters and 2 ways of using. Functionally, the 2 types belong to the ways of creating Chinese characters, while these 2 are the ways of using Chinese characters. Consequently, the types of Chinese character in China writing and science proposed by Kristeva actually belong to these 2 groups. In China writing and science, Kristeva believed that Chinese characters are proved to testify into a semantic, logical way of thinking that is objectified in the very constitution of the character. Moreover, she noticed Medium's method compared Chinese character to the combination of the molecule and atoms. Medium compared the way in which Chinese character function by combining to how molecule and atom combine. The characters may be considered molecule composed of permutation and a combination of 240 atoms. 7 atoms at the most can be found in 1 molecule, and 1 atom may repeat at most 3 times. Actually, the atom mentioned by Kristeva is Bu, which is proposed by Shujin in 说文解字, where Chinese characters are divided into 540 Bu, and the characters collected in the same Bu are all sharing the same pictographic symbol. For example, it collected all characters which showing the Shi as pictographic symbol into the Shi Bu, which means the meaning of all characters of this book are thus so. All the characters are listed in this way, which is still being used until now, but the number of Bu in the later dictionary is changing. 542, 544, while in Ming and Qing dynasties the number was reduced to 240. And that is, they are what Kristeva called 240 atoms. While that an atom may repeat at most 3 times mentioned by Kristeva, further to that, some of the Chinese characters are composed by the same character set. We can find out some characters composed by the same atom in twice. For example, Mu means wood, and Li means forest. And the characters composed by 3 repeats of 1 atom. For example, Ren means person, and Zhou means a lot of people. In fact, there are some characters composed by an atom repeated for 4 times. For example, Yue means moon, and Lang means bright as sunny moon in the sky. Consequently, we believe that the conclusion of Medium should be corrected as the atoms used to compose Chinese character can be repeated for 4 times. Thirdly, in the work about Chinese women, Kristeva wrote that the great system of writing was invented by the great despot as a means of centralizing power, and that after Egypt, background and admire, only China continued to write. From Chinese historical view, writing did play an important role in the centralizing of state power. In 211 BC, after Qin Shi Huang united China, one of the most important policies he took was to unify the different handwriting in the country with the font Xiaozhuan. Now, this is the example. In the work about the Chinese women, Kristeva called Confucius as the eater of women, and attributed that with Confucianism, two barriers are erected to ensure the cohesion of the feudal social order. The first is the door to the belly chamber, the second is the right and knowledge in general. A woman can cross them both at once. So, she paid special attention to female writers in ancient China, among whom the Empress Wu Zetian successfully got rid of her identity of being a slave, managed to achieve the throne of the emperor, and even invented new characters. From our point of view, we think the significance of Empress Wu Zetian as a revolt of the regime are reflected in two aspects. First, she is the only female emperor in Chinese history. Second, she also left a very big impact on the Chinese writing system. She invented 20 Chinese characters, including her name, Zhang. Zhang has 3 atoms, means that the sun and moon are both lighting up the sky compared to her control of the state and the country. The land people made up the poem using these 20 characters, and this is the poem. Not only had she enriched the Chinese character, she also captured the Liu Shu theory of written characters and square shape of traditional character. The characters invented by her, like Yue, Xing, and Wan, are not capable of being explained by the Liu Shu theory, nor were these characters belong to the square-shaped character. Indeed, they were round-shaped character. Now, I pass it over. Thank you.
It's my honor to have the opportunity to introduce the compare text concept between China and West. The compare of original meaning of text in China and West. The word text derived from Latin word textile, whose original meaning was weaving, ESD, and the pressure of text. The Lambas regarded textile as tissue and tried to explain the intertextual relationship between text by using the original meaning of text. But in Chinese, one is pictogram character, whose original meaning is Tyson. If we date back to outcome inscription of the character one, we can clearly find out that it was symbolizing a man with the tattoo on chest. This is the outcome inscription of one. In Shiji, the custom of tattoo could be found alive among people in the former age. In 31st volume of Shiji registered history of Wu Taibo and Jili, the son of King Tai of Zhou. In order to give the throne to Jili, Wu Taibo left kingdom and went to an unexplored place, then cut his hair and made tattoo. Well, it's the custom of inhabitants there. In Shiji, we can also see history that Fu Cai, the king of Kingdom Wu, was proud to tell the emissary from Kingdom Wu that he had tattoo on his body. White custom of having tattoo was found in the Kingdom Wu. According to the book Wu Liang Zhuan Shu, written by Yang Shixing Han Dynasty, the Wu inhabitants were said to make their living in water, so they put tattoo of dragons on their bodies, which looked similar to real dragons, hoping to avoid getting hurt by dragons. And how was tattoos made in detail? In Li Ji Zhu, written by Zhengzhou in East Han Dynasty, the detailed procedure to make a tycoon was to cow shape the picture with nails and then to dye it with red and black pen. We can see that the meaning of process lines, cow shaped with nails, colors, did pen with colors, was covered in the original meaning of one tycoon. Compare of the hierarchy of text in China and West. What's different? The Western concept of text. One has different hierarchies in Asian Chinese as the unit of language, ranging from the smallest meaning of an unlegible character to the biggest meaning of the entire text. Kristeva had noticed difference between wen and zi in Chinese character. In the book 说文解字 by Shujin, she pointed out that the unlegible characters are called wen, while the synthesis characters are called zi. If we try to use the theory of lead hand, wen are often used to compose characters and zi are the moleculars. Wen can also be used to refer to common characters. The phrase, the three groups and paragraphs, and even the entire text in Asian Chinese literature and dictionary. Conclusion. We can find that wen as a unit of language in Asian Chinese view could be used to regard the unlegible characters, the common characters, the phrase groups, paragraphs, and even the entire text. The hierarchy of wen in Asian Chinese are shown a strong idea of being continuum. The compare of concept of text in China and West. Generally speaking, Western concept of text had undergone a switch from closed system to open system. Text in very early time exclusively refers to sentence and paragraph in the Bible. It was not until the late period of the Middle Age and beginning of Enlightenment was text used to refer to juristic treatises and literal artworks. And it was thought to own a meaning in case of being destroyed. The so-called original meaning was started to be denied from Martin Heidegger, while Paul Ricoeur and Gardner believed that text and explanations can exist synchronically. And Julia Kristeva and Roland Barthes totally break the autonomy cross-stage of text, emphasizing the interrelationship between texts. Relatively, Asian Chinese concept of wen was high open from the very beginning. In the Book of Chains, wen was explained as the cause of everything, which can be regarded as a high theoretical conclusion of text. We have pointed out that in former mentioned past that wen's original meaning, tycoon, includes the cross of lines and colors. That's the Book of Chains. Instead of that, Chinese wen could refer to textile as it did in Western world text. One of the extended meaning of wen was used to refer a special textile. In 周礼考工记, we could find out that wen referred to decorative pattern made up of black and red on ancient bonds. It did not only mean the cross figure of black and red, but also the textiles made up of black silk and red silks. It's the Asian bonds. So, in Shiming written by Lucy in East Han Dynasty, wen was noted by foreign words. Text composed by different characters and words is used to compare the good-looking textiles made up by different colored silks. Both China and West regard text as textile. which made contemporary perform meanings, showing that Chinese idea and Western idea may share something common. The formation of textile needs cross of lines and looks neck and neck, so textile should be regarded as one of the most iconic comparative texts. What should be mentioned here is that Fei Liu, in Southern Dynasty, made outstanding contribution to Chinese text theory. He creatively proposed the concept of 形文 means image text, 声文 means songs text, 情文 means emotions text. From his opinion, the clause of colors could be text, the clause of songs could be text, and the clause of emotions as well. That's Liu Xie and his 文心标语. We can find out that ancient Chinese thought the clause of everything could be regarded as one. So, in Liu Shu Gu of Daitong in Yuan Dynasty, it said, up from universe to the reality world, from human beings to animals and plants, everything could form text. In November 2012, Professor Kristeva visited China, who was invited by Professor Zhu Keyi, gave a series of lectures. During that time, we once present the understanding of text in ancient Chinese scholars who believes that any class of lines, colors, songs, and emotions could form text, especially the concept written in the book of James that class of everything could be text. She was surprised and said that ancient Chinese understanding on text was highly open and had already formed a theoretical system, including Kristeva study on origin of Chinese characters and structures, attention on female writer in history, are manifesting that he was very deep understanding on Chinese writing. Regardless of the huge difference between Chinese culture and Western culture, there's still big space of conversation on original meaning. It takes meaning of text, its hierarchies and concept. Thank you.
Great, and we have a good time for questions. We have about 20 minutes. And let's go ahead, I'll bring up the light so we can see each other. So what questions do we have for our speakers? I have a question, but I always hate when the moderator takes the first question, so please.
I'll save you from that.
Thank you.
Let's see, I'm curious about the comparison that you were drawing at the end, when you said that in the West, we tend to have moved from thinking about language as a closed system to thinking about language as an open system. And I thought that that argument that you presented was really interesting, that we just don't see the same transformation in Chinese linguistics because it was already understood to be an open system in the beginning. When I think about Kristeva's work and others who have contributed to the kind of post-structuralist linguistics in the West, I am struck by the fact that there's often like a political component to that. So to contest language as a closed system is to try to argue that meanings are always open to contestation, and therefore to kind of, and I'm thinking here about the officialdom discourse. Okay, so maybe to say, you know, by contesting the closed system of officialdom discourse, there's a way of saying that that there's always space for interpretation and contestation there. So I'm wondering to what extent, in thinking about this open system, what's at stake in kind of arguing against the closed system, if that's correct. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking particularly of your presentation, but I know that this is all very collaborative, so I would be happy for anyone to speak to that.
那这个意思是就是我
是 text 是 open system 是一个开放的系统，那么如果和封闭的系统进行对比，它是如何开放的？就是如果和上下文 context 就语境啊什么之类发生联系的。
What I mentioned, text in Asian China can be first to from the unlegible characters to the entire text. That's the meaning of a language unit. But in other hand, Asian Chinese consider text as an open system. That's not a language unit. They consider the cause of everything, the cause of lines, songs, and even emotions could be text. So in the very opening, Asian Chinese have an open mind about text. Thank you.
If I can just ask a quick follow-up question, so about officialdom discourse, it seems like in the discussion of officialdom discourse, there was a lot of mention of rules and principles, and so is that to say that there are closed systems in officialdom discourse?
实际上这个是真诚的问题，就是说你的官场法语里边提到了很多的规则呀、rules and 就是 principle， 那么这些可能不封闭的系统，就是如何表现在语言上，就是开放的。这是
What I mentioned, it was not until the period of the Mad Age and beginning of Enlightenment was text used to refer the juristic treatise and the literal artworks. And in China, text also can refer to phrase groups or paragraphs, similar to the Western. But in Asian China, the scholars consider text as the cause of everything. That's different from Western, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
More about your questions.
Yeah, I hear your question, and I don't know if you ask the generation of impression and rules integrate to a closed system of language. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is officialdom language closed or open?
Closed.
Yeah.
是开放的还是
then
封闭的？
then
I actually have a way to expand on that.
开放的还是封闭的？话语系列。
Okay. So, okay, I actually wrote it down, so I'm going to be that person, and I'm going to read it. Okay, so semanalysis, as I understand it, tends to analyze meaning through psychoanalysis and breakages and language structures. Okay, so we have the symbolic level of meaning and grammatical level of meaning, but there's something else operating in the communication, and it tends to be something that's embodied,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I was interested because of the linguistic complexity of what you're doing right now, because you're speaking in English using theory conceived in French by a Bulgarian to talk about a Chinese text, which is remarkable.
Very international.
Yes.
Very international.
It's amazing. I would be interested to hear if there's any sort of, I think about recently I was at a panel and it was a couple of linguists, and they were talking about these things they call thetical units in speech, which it's thetical as in like parenthetical. So there is a meaning that is not stated, but we all understand. In the American South, for example, you might say, bless your heart. And sometimes it's meant genuinely. Like, bless your heart, you're a good person and I want you to be happy. sometimes a student does poorly on a test, and the professor says, oh, he tried his best, bless his heart, and that means he's an idiot. And it's the meaning of the phrase is entirely determined by the context of the situation and what they call like tonal units, the way that we say it. And I'm wondering if there are any of these subtle sort of embodied elements in the officialdom discourse when you read it that indicate when they are doing a sort of double speak that you seem to be describing. And I think that's like what you're saying is closed or open. Open meaning it could be many things, right?
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
So again, the question is officialdom language, in your opinion or in your research, is it open or closed?
Yeah, I think it's a generation process. It's open and at first, and then closed to a closed language form. It's closed. So the generation process is an open system. It has impulsion and the rules. Impulsion want to disperse and the rule want to depress it, and they are integrated together and then become a closed system of language.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. That's very interesting, because as the rule system gets closed in officialdom, the meaning is still extensive.
It's open.
But it's hiding its
Is in the
openness,
language.
presenting itself as closed or manipulative or
It's just like a button. It have the moods and the surface of the button, get it, including it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you, in whose I think it was your presentation?
Yeah.
When you spoke about how Kristeva sees there are less characters now than there used to be. There's this?
No.
No, who was it? I thought it was you. When you said that there used to be 533 characters, now there's 214.
Yeah.
So is that a narrowing of meaning?
Yeah.
Or is it just hiding?
Oh wait, it is made this girl.
Oh, I'm
就是说
sorry,
那
I'm
个
sorry.
以前的那个部首不是524部吗？
Yeah,
现在为什么
the
变
book,
成了214部？是说明它们的意义减少了，还是它们意义隐藏到别的部里边了？部不是代表意义吗？
The numbers of characters is more and more.
Is what?
More and more.
It's becoming more, not less?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
And actually, the similar meaning hidden in the similar book, similar 214.
Okay.
Actually, it is make some similar meaning of the bu, bu, bu into same one. Okay, and actually it is in the processing of using the meaning of bu is not only focused on the original meaning of the bu. It introduces the imagination of our human. So the meaning is expanded, and the number is reduced. Actually, one including more than one meaning. Yes. So the number is reduced.
That's strange.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. It's counterintuitive.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's actually not quite strange, because some of the panels mentioned that because of the use of computer,
Right.
especially of global these
right.
days, that's why
Mm-hmm.
a lot of characters, even though they're different, they tend to be combined together
Okay.
because of the way that it sounds or the way that it looks.
Yeah.
As a result, the characters are still there, just that because of the popular usage, it becomes dwindled as a result.
Okay, I
Yeah.
see.
And that's the root of Kristeva's concern
Yes.
about
Yeah.
computers, right? Okay, but then you're saying there's sort of imaginative expansion, even as there's a reduction
Yeah.
in the use of characters.
Well, that's just like one layer of meaning, right?
That's just what?
That's just one layer of meaning. That's the symbolic level.
Right, no, it's just a very interesting process that's unfolding. I have a question that's way less interesting. I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about the effect that forming the Kristeva group has had. It looks like there's a lot going on. There was a lot of research before she before the group formed, before
Mhm.
Siena College, and then
Mhm.
before you formed it. But how has having the Kristeva group changed how the research is happening, or the kind of work students are doing? What have you seen since, is it 2012 that the group formed?
Yes.
Okay. What changes have you seen in the kind of work that is happening?
Will change after 2012 or before it?
Since the group has formed, is it
Oh.
affecting how research is happening?
Yes, it is. Actually, before we use the Kristeva's research or theories to analyze literatures,
Mhm.
especially in literature, not other field. But after the 2012, we introduced a theory to analyze intellectual into linguistics,
Okay.
and to analyze the discourse, how to construct and distract, how to constructing and distracting the a discourse, and
Okay.
the layer and the hierarchy of the discourse, especially in Chinese discourse.
Okay, so it's had a real effect.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Oh, thank you. Are there other questions? Yeah, please.
This is a silly question, but I'd love to hear more about this. I am the James Bond of feminism.
Yeah. Thank you for
To
bringing that
ask
back
about
up.
that. This is apparently what she said this many times, or
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
What
And
did she mean by that?
Yeah, what is that?
it is means it means he is very he is an opener and a founder, and struggled for feminism for her life, for all of her life, struggled for the feminism. Yes, James Bond.
That's great.
Yeah.
And thank you for all of the pictures. That's great.
Those were amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was interested that you guys did so much work that I haven't gotten to see yet on applying her ideas to rhetoric, and that was fascinating to me because I've been doing a little writing about that myself, and I know that historically, like rhetoric, it has been conceived as a practice about manipulating people politically for your own personal benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's been some work recently to reconceive what it could be, and to think that maybe it could be a way to alter people's ways of thinking, right? And I was wondering if you guys were treating it that way. Like, how are you treating it within rhetoric, or could you expand more on it, I guess, is my very long question.
Okay. So last question is how to treat about her thoughts or
Within the discipline of rhetorical studies, or how do you, why are you making that particular connection?
rhetorical study. 是吗 ？OK，就是说是我们是如何把克里斯汀娃的分析应用到就是修辞分析当中来。行。
Okay, I think the report before I have did is it's a way of the integrate of rhetoric study and Kristeva's theory of semi-analysis. And as I understand, the semi-analysis theory is the impression and the rules interactive together to make a close language form. So I think the language form is the rhetoric's language performance. And it was generated by the impression and the rules integrate. It is proposed by Kristeva. Yeah, so I think it's a method of discourse analysis, a way of study rhetoric studies.
Maybe we have time for one more.
My question is that why Kristeva? Because there are many other theorists, whether in rhetorical discourse analysis. Was it because she was there recently, or what what's missing in traditional methodology or hermeneutical framework that you have been using that you find Kristeva helpful to analyze the Chinese discourse, for example, in this case, the Officialdom discourse?
OK，他的意思是我们为什么用克里斯蒂娃的理论来分析汉语的语片？是不是以前的那个理论对分析汉语语片有所缺失？所以为什么用这个克里斯蒂娃的互文理论？谁可以来？OK, I think, in my opinion, in a traditional study on discourse, on Chinese discourse, the perspective is line, is as a line, linear, huh?
Linear.
Linear. Oh, thank you very much. Linear. It is linear, and one by one words, and in grammatical methods, and the Kristeva's intertextuality give us a perspective of spatial and hierarchy perspective, not only linear. Yes, maybe. Okay, so not only one by one, but it's from one layer to another one. Yes, it is like build a building, build a house. Yes, before we see a floor, and now we see the whole building, stocks by stocks. Okay, one floor and another one floor, like this. I think that is what we are missing in traditional study on text or on discourse.
Well, let's thank our panelists one last
thank
time.
Thank you very much.
And now we can continue the conversation over muffins and coffee in the atrium.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.